Hi, good afternoon. I am Poem Praise 2, and I like to welcome you. Certainly, peace and blessings be upon you and your family this afternoon. For this afternoon, we are going to go ahead and get into Lies My Teacher Told Me by James Lowen. We are currently in chapter number 4, which is entitled Red Eyes. This is take number 5 of this chapter. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this take that I have for you. It reads as such. The 3 new from scratch textbooks and my sample of new histories do a somewhat better job than the legacy texts. They recognize diversity among Native societies. They tell about the League of 5 Nations among the Iroquois. I don't know if I said that correctly, y'all. But it's spelled Iroquois in the Northeast. Potlatches among the northwestern coastal Indian cliff dwellings in the southwest, and case divisions among the Natchez in the southwest. In the process of presenting 10 or 20 different cultures in 6 or 8 pages. However, textbooks can hardly reach a high level of sophistication, so they seize upon the unusual. No matter that the Choctaws were more numerous and played a much larger role in American history than the Natchez, they were also more ordinary. Students will not find among the Native Americans portrayed in the history textbooks many regular folks with whom they might identify. After contact with Europeans and Africans, American Indian societies changed rapidly. Native Americans took into their cultures not only guns, blankets, and kettles, but also new foods, ways of building houses, and ideas from Christianity. Most American history textbooks emphasize the changes in only one group, the Plains Indians. The rapid enforcement of this colorful culture after the Spaniards introduced the horse to the American West supplies, an exhilarating example of syncretism, bleeding elements of 2 different cultures to create something new. Blending the elements of 2 different cultures to create something new. Said that twice here on Poem Praise 2 for you. We're going to get back to the book. The transformation in the Plains culture, however, was only the tip of the cultural change iceberg. An even more profound metamorphosis occurred as Europeans linked native peoples to the developing world economy. This process continues to affect formerly independent cultures to this day. In the early 1970s, for example, Saamis, Saamis, formerly called Lapps, Lapps, in Norway replaced their sled dogs with snowmobiles, only to find themselves vulnerable to Arab oil embargoes. In the 1990s, many Native American groups gained not only wealth, but also new respect from their non-native neighbors when their new casinos and hotels connected them to the world economy. This connecting seems inevitable. Hence, perhaps is neither to be praised nor decried. But it should not be. ignored. Because it is crucial to understanding how Europeans took over America. In Atlantic, North America, members of Indian nations possessed a variety of sophisticated skills. From the ability to weave watertight baskets to an understanding of how certain plants can be used to reduce pain. At first, Native Americans traded corn, beaver, fish, sassafras. I'm going to spell this word Sassafras, and other goods with the French, Dutch, and English in return for axes, blankets, cloth, beads, and cattle. Soon, however, Europeans persuaded natives to specialize in the fur and slave trade. You see how that kind of like slid on in? I slid that in on in the sentence. Because, see, at first they was trading certain type of things. And then all of a sudden it says soon, however, Europeans persuaded natives to specialize in fur and slave trades. Now, Native Americans were better hunters and trappers than Europeans. And with the guns of the Europeans sold them, they became better skilled. Other native skills began to atrophy, atrophy. Why spend hours making a watertight basket when in 1/10 the time you could trap enough beavers to trade for a kettle? Time of the essence. Even agriculture with the Native Americans had shown to the Europeans decline because it became easier to trade the food than to grow it. Everyone acted in rational self-interest in joining such a system. That is, Native Americans were not mere victims because everyone's standard of living improved, at least in theory. Some of the rapid changes in Eastern Indian societies exemplifies centricism. When the Iroquois, Oquois, combined European guns and Native American tactics to smash the Hurons, they controlled their own culture and chose which elements of European culture to incorporate, which to modify, and which to ignore. Native Americans learned how to repair guns, cast bullets, build stronger forts, and fight to annihilate. Native Americans also became well known as linguists, often speaking two European languages, French, English, Dutch, Russian, or Spanish, and at least two American Indian languages. English colonists sometimes used natives as interpreters when dealing with Spanish or French, not just with other Native American nations. Now, you know interpreters. These developments were not all matters of happy economics and voluntary syncretic cultural transformation. However, natives were operating under a military and cultural threat, and they knew it. They quickly deduced the European guns were more efficient than their bows and arrows. Europeans soon realized that trade goods could be used to win and maintain political alliance with American Indian nations. To deal with the new threat, and because whites demanded institutions relative of their own with which to relate. Many native groups strengthened their tribal governments. Chiefs acquired power they had never had before. These governments often ruled unprecedentedly broad areas, because the heightened warfare and the plagues had wiped out smaller tribes and caused them to merge with the larger ones for protection. Large nations became ethnic melting pots, taking in whites and blacks, as well as other Indians. New confederations and nations developed, such as Creeks, Seminoles, and Lumbes, Lumbees. The tribes also became more male-dominated. And initiation of Europeans are because of the expanded importance of war skills in their cultures. Tribes that were closest to Europeans got guns first. Guns that could be trained on interior people who had not yet acquired any. Yeah, I read that correct. Let me repeat it one more time. I'm pouring praise too. Tribes that were closest to the Europeans and got guns first. Guns that could be trained on interior people who had not yet acquired any. Suddenly, some nations had a great military advantage over others. The results was as calculation, escalation, of Indian warfare. Native nations had emerged in conflict before Europeans came, of course. Tribes rarely fought to finish, however. Some tribes did not want to take over the lands belonging to other nations, partly because each had its own sacred sites. For a nation to exterminate its neighbors was difficult anyway, since all enjoyed roughly the same level of military technology. Now all this changed. European powers deliberately increased the level of warfare by playing one native nation off another. The Spanish, for example, used a divide and conquer strategy to defeat the Aztecs in Mexico. In Scotland and Ireland, the English had played tribes against one another to extend British rule. Now they did the same in North America. This is going to complete this take right here on Poem Praise 2 that I have for you. Yes, that was take number 5. I would like for you to stay tuned for take number 6 here on Poem Praise 2. Certainly at this time, hit the like button, subscribe, share, hit that notification bell. You'll know when I'm coming with something new for you. So be safe, be well, and it be it thy will. I'll talk with you soon, okay? So until then, later, y'all. All right, and I'll see you soon.